Choice of friends. One day, a crow was sitting idly on a tree near the Godavari river. He observed a hunter approaching and thought to himself, "Oh dear, this man is clearly up to no good. I wonder what he is doing." The hunter started hiding a net cleverly behind some bushes. He then sprinkled some grains on the ground and hid inside one of the hollow trees and waited patiently. A couple of pigeons accompanied their king were flying by. One of the pigeons saw the grains and said, "Your Majesty, look, there are some grains on the ground. Let us rest and feed on them." The king said, "Hold on. Isn't it a bit odd that there are grains spread over here in the middle of the forest?" The crow heard that and thought, "This king is wise." The pigeon king continued, "We must be cautious, for greed will lead one to great doom." All the other pigeons agreed except for one. He said, "Should we give up a feast for an irrational fear?" Suddenly, the other pigeons were confused. They didn't know whom to support. One of them agreed with the pigeon and said, "Yes, Your Majesty, he is right. Let us not be scared out of a good meal." One by one, all the pigeons agreed and decided to eat the grains, all but the king. The king said to himself, "They are my subjects. I mustn't abandon them." The crow knew that this was a bad idea, but couldn't do anything about it. As soon as the pigeons started pecking at the grain, a giant net trapped them all. They all screamed for help and then looked directly at the pigeon that had suggested pecking the grains in the first place. They said, "Fool, it is because of your greed that we are trapped here." The king was right. We should have listened to him. The king then hushed the entire flock of pigeons and said, "He isn't the only one to blame. You are ready to share the feast. Now be ready to share the blame too. Now let's figure out a way to free ourselves." The crow thought to himself, "Spoken like a true king." The pigeon king then thought of a plan. He instructed all of the other pigeons to fly upwards at the same time. On his mark, they did exactly as instructed. But the king and the entire flock of pigeons flew up in the sky along with the net. The crow decided to follow the pigeons. Now that the pigeons were safe from the hunter, they had to get themselves out of the net. The pigeon king had a friend who was king of the mice. The king knew that his friend would be able to gnaw at the net and free him and his subjects. So he led the flock to his burrow. At his burrow, the king called out to the mouse, "Oh, friend, please come out and help us." As soon as the mouse heard that sound, he knew it was his friend. He immediately came out of his burrow to find his friend in an unfortunate situation. Without a word, he rushed towards the net to gnaw at the strings and free all the pigeons. "Hold on," said the pigeon king. "Free my followers first." "But my friend, I am just a tiny creature." "It might be possible that my strength fails me before I free you," replied the mouse. The noble pigeon king replied, "As a king, it is my duty to protect my subjects, even if it has to be at the cost of my life." But the mouse hesitated. He said, "Absolutely not. I'll first save you and then save your subjects. It isn't wise to sacrifice oneself to preserve one's dependents." The pigeon king smiled gently and replied, "That may be true, my friend, but death which comes to all comes nobly when we give our life to save another's life. You will free them first." The crow, who was observing all of this at a distance, couldn't believe the nobility of this king. The mouse finally agreed and began gnawing the net. One by one, all the pigeons escaped. However, it looked like the mouse was running out of strength. Things seemed desperate, but the mouse held on and managed to free every single pigeon, including the king. The pigeons rejoiced. The crow thought to himself, "He is indeed a true friend. I must befriend him." Once the pigeons flew away, the crow went up to the mouse and told him that he wished to befriend him. The mouse was amused to hear that. "The mouse is usually food to the crow," he told him. "We can never be friends. One day I might end up becoming your dinner." The crow laughed and said, "Oh, you mustn't worry about that. You're too tiny to even be a full breakfast for me." The mouse was still not sure about this offer. He said to the crow, "But you're so flighty. How can I depend on you?" The crow was keen on being friends with the mouse, so he said to him, "Dear mouse, I value your friendship. Thus, if you refuse it, I will fast unto death at your door." The mouse was absolutely touched by the crow's gesture and sheer devotion. He decided to become friends with him. He said to the crow, "Come, my friend, let us mark this new friendship with a feast." And so, from that day onwards, the crow and the mouse became the best of friends. They helped each other with food while staying loyal to each other. One day, the crow came to the mouse with some unfortunate news. He told him that he would have to leave the forest as the food was getting scarce for him. There was a tortoise in another forest who was his friend and would provide him with fish and other food. The mouse had come to adore the crow. He couldn't imagine his life without his friend, so he decided to join him too. The duo left for the other forest to meet the crow's friend, the tortoise. They soon met him there, and the three became the best of friends. They enjoyed each other's company. Several days passed. The trio was relaxing in the forest when a deer sprang up to them and said, "Help me. A hunter is after me. Relax and enjoy some food and beverages. I am going for a swim," said the tortoise. The deer was getting restless. He advised the crow and the mouse to leave the forest immediately. They both agreed. However, they had to figure out a way to take the friend, the tortoise, along with them. Just then, the crow, the mouse, and the deer heard a familiar sound. It was the tortoise. He had been captured by the hunter. The trio had to rescue their friend somehow. The mouse came up with an idea. He instructed the deer to lie across the hunter's path as if he were dead. He asked the crow to then peck at the deer's body. The two immediately took their positions. As the hunter was walking with his catch, he saw a dead deer and a crow pecking at him. He put the tortoise down, removed his knife, and slowly proceeded towards the deer. The mouse sneakily began gnawing at the binding strings that imprisoned the tortoise and freed him. Meanwhile, the hunter was about to skin the deer when, boing! The deer sprang up and ran for his life. The hunter was disappointed, but he knew that at least he had the tortoise. However, he got the shock of his life when he looked back to see that the tortoise had vanished. The hunter's greed had got the better of him. He went back to his hut. The tortoise thanked the deer, the mouse, and the crow for saving him, and the four of them enjoyed the rest of the days together.